I never imagined I would be saved by a stranger, a heartbreaking story of transformation. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sky was a strange, bruised color, clouds swirling like a storm trying to shake off an unseen weight. My heart raced as I stepped into the empty street, each echo of my footsteps bouncing back like cruel reminders of my solitude. I was alone, trapped in a maze of pain and uncertainty, wondering how I got here. As I walked, the air felt thick, heavy with something unnameable. I could almost taste it, the metallic tang of anxiety stinging my throat. My thoughts raced faster than my trembling hands could keep up. The burden of loss was suffocating. I had lost everything: my job, my home, even the love I thought would last forever. Those thoughts stabbed at my chest, leaving me breathless. I could still hear my mother's soothing voice from the last time we spoke. "Hold on, sweetheart, things will get better." But that felt like a lifeline tossed into a dark sea. I wanted to believe it. I needed to believe it. And yet silence stretched around me like a thick fog, swallowing any glimmer of hope. I wandered, drifting through the outskirts of my hometown, where houses wore faded dreams and cracked sidewalks held the weight of forgotten laughter. An elderly couple walked by, their fingers intertwined as they shared soft words and knowing smiles. A pang of jealousy shot through me. How could they be so happy? My chest tightened, a knot of envy and pain. Suddenly, a noise broke through the rhythm of my despair: a crash, a sharp sound that shattered the stillness. I turned, staring wide-eyed as a figure emerged from the shadows, running towards me with wild energy. My heart raced again. Who were they? What were they doing? Their face was obscured, but I could feel an electric energy radiating from them. They skidded to a halt in front of me, breathless and wide-eyed, like they had just toppled from a dream into reality. "We have to go," they shouted, urgency crackling in their voice like static. My mind screamed with confusion. Go? Where? Before I could respond, a loud roar echoed behind us. I spun around to see flames licking the edge of a nearby building, monstrous and hungry. The heat of it pressed against my skin, a terrifying reminder of the chaos I was caught in. My heart pounded even harder. "We're not safe here," they urged, their eyes sparking with a frantic hope. I could barely think. I felt a pleading twist deep inside me, a longing for escape, for salvation. But who was this stranger? What if I trusted them and lost myself even more? Every instinct in me cried out to run. But the fires of desperation roared louder than my fears. I gripped this stranger's hand, feeling the warmth radiate through our fingers. And just like that, we sprinted into the unknown, into a future both frightening and filled with possibility. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The world blurred around us as we fled, the fiery destruction casting an ominous glow that illuminated our path. I felt the stranger's hand grip mine with an intensity that quelled the chaotic pounding in my chest, if only for a moment. We dashed down streets I used to know, but they transformed in an instant into an unfamiliar battleground, a scene from some nightmarish fever dream. The night held its breath, waiting. We veered into an alley, the narrow walls swallowing us in shadows, muffling the chaos behind. Gasping for breath, we collapsed against the cool, unforgiving brick, our bodies trembling from the aftermath of fear. I looked at my companion, face flushed, eyes bright with an urgent fire. I could see faint lines etched under their skin, possibly of age or perhaps wisdom earned through experience. What just happened? I stammered, still grappling with the surge of emotions within. "Just a fiery accident, I think." "But we have to keep moving," they replied, urgency lacing their tone. "They'll be too busy with the blaze to notice us escaping." "For now, we breathe. Who are you?" I managed to ask, a nervous tremor in my voice. I was both grateful and terrified to be in their presence. "Nobody special," they said with a lopsided smile that didn't manage to hide the worry pooling behind their eyes. "Just someone who knows what it feels like to lose everything." Those words struck me like a cosmic dart. It felt as though we were two wounded souls, threading a brief connection, yet I couldn't pry further. My world had just crumbled into ashes. Was I ready to expose my own scars? But before I could compose my thoughts, sirens rang sharp in the distance, a baleful wail of urgency that called to the chaos we had left behind. "We need to find a safe place," they said, pulling me out of that spiraling haze with their gaze. I nodded, urgency overtaking my apprehensions. And so we ran again, through dimly lit side streets and forgotten paths. Each step felt heavier, laden with doubt and fear, and yet there was a flicker of something else, hope wrapped in confusion. We finally emerged in a park, its dark outline silhouetted against the glittering city lights in the distance. Here, it felt like the world exhaled, if only for a moment. We collapsed onto the damp grass, and I turned to this enigmatic stranger, my heart fluttering with the weight of unasked questions. "Why did you come looking for me?" I blurted, unable to contain my curiosity. "I didn't," they replied, shaking their head, the firelight casting shadows on their face. "I just happened to see you and that building. I couldn't just stand by." Dread twisted in my stomach as reality settled in. I had just escaped one disaster, yet here I was, tangled in another reality, one that left me questioning my instincts and motives. "But why me?" I pressed, needing to understand what it was that drew their touch to my fractured life. "I'm just someone lost in a storm of my own making," they sighed heavily, the weight of their words hanging in the air. "Because I felt something. I think we're both in storms of our own. And maybe, just maybe, we can help each other out. You're not alone, even if it feels like you are." A tear slipped down my cheek, unwelcome but a release I desperately needed. "But what can we possibly do? How can I get back to who I was?" "I don't know," they admitted, their voice softening. "But we can try." Together. A tentative connection sparked between us, as I dared to believe that perhaps we could navigate this shattered world side by side. But just as a sense of peace began to settle in, darkness stirred in my heart again. From somewhere behind the park, raised voices reached us, urgent and filled with command. My stomach dropped as I recognized one, the unmistakable tone of the voice that had once held power over my life, my downfall. My ex-employer, furious and searching. "They were looking for me." "Run," I said suddenly, panic clawing at the edges of my resolution, but my stranger only shook their head, fear sparking in their eyes. "No. We can't go back. Not now." In that moment, time slowed, suffocated by the intimacy of our immediate decisions. I could sense danger creeping closer, inevitability folding in on us. I had only just begun to trust this lifeline, and here was the world threatening to pull us apart again. "Please," I implored, feeling the gravity of my plea. "You might be caught in my mess. I have to go." "Do you really think running will change your fate?" they challenged gently, their eyes mirroring the remnants of hope I was desperately clinging to. Before I could answer, a voice in the distance called out my name, laden with disbelief and accusation. I froze, the sheer weight of my past crashing down around me. What was supposed to be a moment of calm had spiraled into confrontation. I could sense uncertainty and fear coursing through us both as we confronted the shadows of the past. The stranger's eyes searched mine for answers, moments stretching painfully long, drawing a line in the sand on our fragile relationship. "Are you ready to finally face it?" they asked softly, but the question hung in the air like a storm cloud heavy with rain, waiting to break. And then, I heard the sound of footsteps approaching. The footsteps thrummed like a heartbeat, loud against the stillness of the park, reverberating through my entire being. My senses heightened, paralyzing me in a frigid grip of fear, yet beside me, the stranger remained resolute, their presence a steady anchor in the storm that was gathering around us. "Please," I whispered, my voice barely more than a breath. "You don't have to do this. Just go." The words seemed hollow, yet a part of me sought to protect this fragile bond that had barely begun. "I'm not leaving you," they replied firmly, the warmth of their hand gripping mine more tightly than before. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. Yet the cacophony of approaching voices grew louder, my heart racing under the weight of trepidation as I searched for an escape. "They'll hurt you," I choked out, the reality of my past crashing back with vicious clarity. "They'll only see what you choose to show them." "Let them come," the stranger said. There was a fierce determination in their eyes, flickering with an unyielding light that slowly chipped away at my fear. It was as if they were a mirror, reflecting the strength I didn't know I possessed. But could I really allow another to enter my turmoil, to witness the wreckage of my former life? The dread folded into that instant, heavy and suffocating. I could see the figures now, emerging from the shadows, silhouettes against the faint glow of the streetlights, hostility written in every line of their bodies. And among them, that unmistakable gaze intensely focused on me. "Why have you done this? Why now?" My ex-employer's voice pierced through the darkness, dripping with authority and accusation. The way they looked at me evoked memories too painful to confront, the scars of betrayal fresh and raw all at once. One revelation broke through the cloud of turmoil. This was my chance to reclaim my own narrative, to no longer cower in the shadows of someone else's expectations. "Because I refuse to run anymore," I declared, the words spilling forth with newfound fervor. "I am not the person you think I am." The footsteps halted, surprised murmurs erupting from the group. The stranger beside me offered a subtle nod, instilling a sense of courage I desperately needed. "I fought for this," I pressed onward, steeling my resolve. "To break free from a life dictated by your whims and your demands. I wanted to live, to feel again, even if it meant standing alone. But what kind of life is this?" My ex-employer sneered, their demeanor unwavering. "Where you hide in the shadows with those unworthy of your time, they're worth more than you'll ever know." I turned, glancing into my companion's eyes, where a flicker of admiration replaced the worry. "They saved me when I thought all was lost." Sometimes saving someone means stepping into the muck with them. And I'm grateful for that. The air around us thickened, tension swirling as the faces surrounding me morphed into masks of disbelief and anger. I had never stood up like this before, not against them. But just as I felt the tide of momentum surge, a voice, deeper and more commanding than the rest, surged through the crowd, cutting through the chaos. "Let's just take them both." My heart sank as I realized the implication. My ex-employer was issuing commands, stretching the boundaries of my once tame existence back into captivity. "Not happening," the stranger interjected, stepping forward protectively. "You'll have to go through me first." A gasp rippled through the crowd, surprise echoing in the night air. A shiver of shock coursed through my spine, echoing in the depths of my heart as I realized the depth of their conviction, their willingness to shield me, even when the odds were insurmountable. "Step aside," my employer warned, advancing, a storm of fury brewing in their eyes. "You have no idea what you're facing." "Then neither do you," the stranger challenged, an unwavering stand that ignited something within me. I was no longer the lost soul flickering on the edge of darkness, but rather someone fighting back, emboldened by the connection we had forged. Yet the world cracked open once more, as I heard another set of footsteps approaching, an unfamiliar sound, chaotic yet purposeful in its intent. My heart thudded, uncertainty flooding back, coiling around my instincts like a taut noose. From behind the thrumming gathering, a figure cloaked in shadows stepped forward, the subtle gleam of metal catching the meager light. The stranger tensed beside me, their grip tightening, and I could feel all breath collectively held as we stood on the precipice of an irreversible choice. "Who dares?" my employer began, but the words faded as the newcomer emerged into the light. And at that moment, my breath hitched as I realized it was someone I had never expected to see again, someone from my past who held secrets buried deep within, secrets that could shatter the fragile world I was beginning to build. "It's time we talk," they said, unsheathing a glimmer of destiny wrapped in darkness. The air crackled with tension, and as I stared wide-eyed, I couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change or perhaps plunge into a greater abyss. The prospect of unveiling truths I had spent years burying loomed ominously ahead, a new chapter waiting to unfold, but the question remained, would we survive it together, or would this be the final blow? The stillness hung thick in the air, broken only by the distant echo of a siren wailing somewhere in the night. Time seemed to stretch, each heartbeat resonating in the silence, tainted by uncertainty. My eyes were fixated on the figure before me, a spectre of my past that I thought I had escaped. There they stood, as if pulled from a forgotten memory, and with them, the weight of lingering regrets flooded back. Why are you here? I managed to croak out, my voice trembling. It was a question steeped in disbelief and curiosity, tangled with a thread of fear. Did they come to replicate the torment I had run from, or were they a harbinger of something else entirely? The newcomer met my gaze, their expression inscrutable, yet there was an ache of understanding behind their eyes. I didn't come to hurt you, they replied slowly, the earnestness of their tone grounding me for a moment. I came to warn you. Warn me? My ex-employer scoffed, incredulity lacing their voice. About what? That you shouldn't be hanging out with this rabble. They gestured towards the stranger standing steadfastly by my side, the barrier between my two worlds. No, the figure stated sharply, their voice steady and commanding. About what's really at stake? They took a step closer, glancing at me with an intensity that made my stomach knot. You don't know the power they hold over you or the consequences of your defiance. What are you talking about? I felt an unease crawl beneath my skin, fraying the nerves that had begun to coalesce into resolve. The stranger beside me noticed my distress and squeezed my hand tighter, a silent promise that together we could face whatever storm awaited us. Your freedom comes at a cost, the figure spoke again, their voice softer now, but still rife with urgency. They won't stop until they have you back under their control. You need to leave this place right now. No. My heart flared with indignation. I won't be bullied into submission again. I've fought too hard for this life. The fervor of my conviction surprised even me, the flame of rebellion igniting within. Sometimes fighting looks like running, they warned, their eyes flickering between me and the gathering shadows that loomed ahead. You have no idea how far they're willing to go. You can trust them. You can trust anyone. The truth in their words pierced through me, reminding me of the subtle intricacies of betrayal I had lived through, for relationships that had twisted into nooses around my neck. Yet, standing beside the stranger who had chosen to protect me, I felt a flicker of defiance. My resolve wavered, a delicate balance of hope and fear. What do you want? My voice was softer now, brimming with vulnerability, and for a fleeting moment, I wondered if there was still a way to piece my life together, to wield my gaze towards a future unclouded by despair. To help you, they said, stepping closer. I regret everything that happened in the past. I never wanted to be part of the machinery that broke you. Before I could form a response, my ex-employer interjected with cold fury. Enough of this charade. You will regret this betrayal. Their eyes burned with an anger that sent a shiver racing down my spine. Let's just go, the stranger urged, their voice low yet filled with intention. Who cares what they think? We can find our way out, together. Just as I opened my mouth to respond, the crowd shifted, the previously dulled gazes transformed into expressions of aggression, their menacing whispers igniting a firestorm behind me. Don't you dare take another step, my employer growled, moving forward with malicious intent. We will do what's necessary to bring you back. Suddenly, the shadows of a deeper darkness enveloped me, the air brushing against my skin felt a livia wave of raw energy crackling in the tension. In a heartbeat, it became clear, my past was not the only thing coming back to haunt me. The tangled threads of fate had woven a net, tightening around my every hope. In an instinctual movement, the stranger shielded me, their body a bold barrier against the impending storm. Trust me, they whispered. Urgency etching deep lines into their face. Hold on tight, adrenaline surged as I gripped their hand, the solid warmth of their presence erasing a fraction of my fear. Yet just as we turned to flee, an unexpected force thrust against me, a gust of wind that swept my feet out from under me. Time slowed as I struggled to find my balance, every ounce of hope wavering precariously in the air. As I toppled, a piercing flash of light exploded around us, silhouetting the figures behind me, the chaos blurring in a spiraling whirl. And in that dizzying moment, the haunting reality crystallized in my mind, the choices laid before me were unfathomable. The path ahead remained obscured in shadows, and I was caught in a storm of my own making where betrayal could hide in the faces I once trusted. Then came a voice, cutting through the chaos like a blade. Enough! My heart clenched as the voice reverberated a command so authoritative it held the promise of finality. And just like that, with the thrusting of a hand and a deliberate shift in the air, I was left suspended, teetering on the brink of everything I feared most, the echo of my past refusing to fade, and the chilling realization that perhaps, just maybe, it was too late to protect the fragile connection that had begun to mend my spirit. In the moment before everything collapsed, the weight of uncertainty settled heavily upon my chest. I was once again facing a realm of darkness I thought I had escaped, and the choice to remain in the light, or surrender to the abyss, was just another heartbeat away. The world around me spun in a surreal dance of colors and sounds as I lost my footing, the light fading into a muted haze. I felt the stranger's hand slip from mine, leaving behind a cold void that threatened to swallow me whole. Panic surged as I twisted in the crushing darkness, frantically searching for something to anchor me, anything that could provide clarity in this maelstrom of uncertainty. Stay with me. I heard the voice echo as if from a great distance, a plea that sent ripples of energy coursing through me. But just as quickly as the warmth of safety was offered, it vanished, and I was once again trapped in a void, swirling in the tumult of voices and shadows. A sharp pain erupted in my chest, and I gasped, the air seeming to thicken around me. Memories clawed at my mind, moments of laughter that turned to bitter tears, the faces of those who had let me down, the lonely nights spent chasing dreams shadowed by despair. Yet there was one face that lingered amid the chaos, a beacon amidst the roiling blackness. Me, stranger. I gritted my teeth, rallying the fragments of my spirit, willing myself to find their way back. In the fractured sensations of my awakening, I caught glimpses of their figure moving through the crowd, dodging blows and entwining through the chaos with a grace that sparked flickers of hope within me. My heartbeat synced with the rhythm of their movements, and I felt a magnetic pull, a tether binding us together, strong enough to endure the storm that raged. Suddenly, the confusion amplified, rippling through both my mind and body. My feet hit solid ground, and I blinked, disoriented. I remained suspended in the chaos, the dense energy around me heavy and oppressive. The figure of my ex-employer loomed larger than life, their fury radiating like a dark sun, while my supposed allies stood frozen, indecision gripping them like chains. Why would you protect them? My ex-employer demanded, voice laced with venomous betrayal. You're wasting your potential. Potential? The stranger's voice cut through the turmoil, defiance rising like a phoenix from the ashes. What potential are you offering? A life shackled in fear? I won't let them pull you back into their twisted game. The weight of their words seeped into my veins, awakening something fierce and unyielding within me. They believed in me, even when I struggled to believe in myself. In that moment, emboldened by their unwavering resolve, I stood taller, daring to face the shadows that whispered doubts in my ears. No. I shouted, my voice breaking free from its prison. I refuse to be defined by my past. I will no longer be a pawn in your game. The crowd stirred uneasily, some expression shifting from aggression to puzzled disbelief. My ex-employer's grip on control slipped, if only for a moment, and I seized it, stepping forward into the press of bodies. They could not snuff out the flame that flickered within me, a newfound courage blazing brighter than the dark around us. In the chaos, an unexpected ally emerged from the corners of the crowd, a figure cloaked in shadows yet radiating warmth, someone who wore pain like a badge but was willing to fight. They lifted their chin, determination sparking in their eyes. We've all suffered, but none of us are alone. Help is here, and we fight for one another now. Together hope blossomed like a flower defying the harshest winters, coaxed into existence against all odds. But before I had time to process this shift, the crowd surged, and chaos erupted as if the very ground had begun to tremble beneath us. Suddenly, the world shimmered, a disorienting blend of reality unfurling before us as an eerie silence fell. I was enveloped in darkness again, and the very fabric of existence felt stretched like a taut string, ready to snap. With a flash that illuminated the darkness in blinding brilliance, reality was rewritten. Light poured in, revealing a new battlefield littered with shadows of my fears, but now they twisted into something tangible. Long-forgotten faces appeared, friends turned foes, and allies I never expected to see stood defiantly against the tide of despair. Yet as I reached out, yearning to grasp the hands of those glowing souls, the stranger emerged from the chaos, fear drenching their expression. We have to move. Now. They can control the shift, but it won't be long until they regroup. A chill raced down my spine, igniting questions that dug deep within. What do you mean? What shift? But just then, another resonant voice, deep and unmistakable, filled the air. A voice ID thought ID escaped. You thought you could escape us, the figure proclaimed from the shadows, slinking into view, the recognition igniting a tempest of emotions that threatened to consume me. "Welcome back," they said, a cruel smile carved upon their lips. "We have unfinished business." A bond shattered. A fragile hope fractured. The ground beneath my feet trembled, foretelling a storm, and fear began to gnaw mercilessly, whispering a lie. Perhaps escape had never been an option at all, and just as I opened my mouth to defend my choices, to demand strength from those rallying around me, the world imploded once again, a shatter of reality unraveling, pulling me into the abyss with a horrifying certainty. This fight was far from over, and the darkness did not yield easily. The line between ally and enemy blurred, and the truth loomed just out of reach, hidden behind layers of betrayal, ready to tear apart everything I fought so desperately to rebuild. In the swirling chaos, I felt weightless, as if the ground beneath me had surrendered to gravity's pull, while the shadows lurked with menacing whispers. The figure who once evoked a mixture of dread and familiarity now threatened to unravel the tenuous fabric of my resolve. My heart raced not just with fear but with the challenge. I had to confront the past clawing its way into my present, threatening to extinguish the spark ignited by the stranger's unwavering belief in me. The bright light from the earlier shift flickered and dimmed, leaving tendrils of darkness to wrap around my wrists like chains. I searched the faces in the crowd, the expressions I had once trusted now tangled in confusion. The comforting faces of newfound allies morphed into something inexplicably threatening. Their conviction had turned to hesitation. I could sense their doubt ripple through the air, mixing with my own insecurities. "Don't let them win. Fight back." The stranger's voice rang out like a bell through fog, pulling me from the clutches of despair, but I couldn't cling to hope while the shadows danced around us, taunting me with memories of who I used to be. "We're not alone." Another voice chimed, filled with an unexpected warmth. It was a reminder that in this shared struggle, we found solace. My eyes found the cloaked figure from before, their determination unwavering even now. "Remember why we're here." Together, we're unstoppable. Clenching my fists, I pulled from the well of strength inside, imagining it coiling around my heart like a protective embrace. I looked back at my ex-employer. "You don't define me," I shouted, my voice breaking through incomprehensible noise. Their features contorted in rage, fueled by the challenge, but there was a flicker of doubt. I had found a way to pierce their facade. The stranger called, lunging towards me as shadows swirled dangerously close. "We have to go." Before I could respond, time slowed, the world falling into a surreal dance of light and darkness where every second felt heavier than lead. I turned to face my past, me strengths and failures materializing as faces all around me, giving voice to my deepest fears. "You can't escape your reality," they echoed, a vile melody that pulled at the edges of my resolve. No. I screamed, my voice rippling with the weight of the burden I had carried far too long. "You're not real. I am not bound by your chains." The shadows momentarily retreated, as if staggering back from the force of my defiance, but the pause was fleeting. As the darkness recoiled, the ground shifted again, transforming it into a labyrinth of twisted paths where hope appeared on the horizon, radiating warmth like a sun piercing through storm clouds. My heart quickened as I caught sight of my allies rallying together, emboldened by the strength I had found. The stranger grasped my hand firmly, the connection sparking a current of unity. "We can break through this, together," I called, lifting my chin. "This is our chance." But just as we steeled ourselves to charge forward, an eruption of laughter echoed from the shadows. My heart sank when I recognized the mocking tone. It belonged to my past, cruel and derisive. "Together? You think trust will save you? Look around. They will abandon you just like everyone else did. No. You don't control us anymore," I shouted, each word laced with conviction. The shadows faltered, tremors running through them, an acknowledgement that I was no longer that vulnerable person they had once broken. We were stronger together, forged in each other's fire, yet a sinking feeling settled deep, a whisper that something far worse awaited. Just as I turned to flee, something heavy fell from the depths of the gloom, a truth ignited by the voice of someone I never thought I would hear again, yet somehow always knew would reappear when I least expected it. "Milan, I've come to collect what's mine," they said, a figure emerging from the shadows, someone I once trusted to guide me, whose betrayal carved scars on my heart. "You're not going anywhere until you learn your lesson. Did you think you could walk?" away, my breath hitched as I was blindsided by an overwhelming wave of doubt. What if they were right? What if I had only created an illusion of strength, a facade ready to crumble at the first confrontation? The stranger squeezed my hand tighter, grounding me in the moment, imbuing me with the resolve to resist. But as my heart raced and the shadows shrank around me, I couldn't shake the feeling that the fabric of our unity was fraying. The connection to my allies, my newfound friends, hung precariously amidst the echoes of the past, while hope flickered like a dim candle against the encroaching darkness, gnawing at the edges of my courage. The world lurched again, pulling everything away just as we found our footing. Would I find the strength to confront this figure from my past, or would they drag me back down into the abyss I fought so desperately to escape? The uncertainty loomed closer than ever, and as the shadows pressed in, I felt the cold tendrils of fear wrapping around my heart once more, whispering something I had dreaded to hear. Perhaps losing this battle was closer than I dared to realize. The labyrinth of shadows shifted around us, a living entity that pulsed with the rhythm of my frayed nerves. The daunting figure of my past loomed larger, curling its lips into a wicked smile that sent a shiver through my bones. Beneath that smile lay the haunting memories of broken promises and the intimate betrayals that had once shattered my spirit. "Milan," they drawled, their voice dripping with condescension. "You still think you can escape? You know the truth, you're just as weak as you've always been. That little spark of courage won't save you." As they stepped closer, I felt the heat of panic rising within me. It was as if my own insecurities were manifesting into the dark entity standing before me. But just then, an unfamiliar warmth enveloped my hand. "Me stranger, my unexpected ally." They stood resolute, their presence a shield against the onslaught of memories threatening to drown me. "Look at me, Milan," the stranger urged with a voice of quiet intensity. "Remember the light you felt? The one that ignited in you when you stood up to your ex-employer? That's real, and they can't take it away from you." Their grip tightened, steadying me against the tumult, but doubt lingered, festering like an open wound. The figure from my past took another step forward, their shadow reaching out like a twisted finger. "You think this stranger can save you?" they sneered. "You are nothing without me. Remember how you crumbled at my words? Tell me you don't still feel that pull of fear." I wanted to scream, to dismiss their taunts, yet the darkness within me stirred at their insinuation. What if my confidence was merely an illusion, built on shaky ground? Could I truly rely on the belief of a stranger when my heart was so porous, so brittle? With each new doubt, a chorus of tormentors danced behind the figure faces from my past, spectral remnants of broken trust and shattered faith. They bobbed and weaved like puppets on strings, snickering at my vulnerability. The laughter swelled, a cacophony that swallowed all hope. "Shut up!" I yelled, my voice trembling yet fierce, as I grasped my stranger's hand tighter. For the first time, I felt their warmth seep into my own, tangling with the remnants of my fear, igniting a spark that I thought had long been extinguished. The shadows flickered for a moment, reacting to this newfound force, a testament to my determination. "I'm not defined by you. I am not beholden to your insecurities. You are not my truth." The exhilaration surged within me, pushing the darkness back, if only for a heartbeat. "Together, Milan!" my stranger cried out, eyes fierce and unyielding. "We face this together." As the shadows clashed and reluctantly withdrew, the figure's smile faltered. I glimpsed vulnerability behind the facade of control, and uncertainty wavered in their eyes. Perhaps this confrontation threatened their grip on me as much as it terrified me, but before I could dare to envision victory, a piercing shriek overwhelmed the atmosphere, reverberating through the labyrinth. It was a sound laced with anguish, emanating from somewhere deep within the shadows. Then I saw them, the faces of my allies, illuminated momentarily through the obscurity, their expressions contorted with desperation. The realization struck like lightning. They were being consumed by a dark force, slipping away one by one, the shadows feeding on the doubts I had ignited. I turned to my stranger. Their unwavering belief was a tether that could either save us or leave us vulnerable to the encroaching darkness. "No!" I shouted beneath the thundering chaos, as the spectre of my past unleashed a torrent of tumultuous memories that stripped my resolve raw. "We can't let them suffer. I won't let doubts take my friends." Strength surged within me once more. I stepped forward, willing to fight not just for myself, but for each of them. I pushed past the monsters of my past, not only wrapping myself in conviction but anchoring my friends within it too. Trust in the light we've built together, I yelled, my voice rising above the din of shadows. We are more than the fears that haunt us. We are stronger when we stand side by side. My heart raced as I felt warmth radiate distinctly through my hands. Suddenly, a surprising ripple of warmth spread from my fingertips, creating a barrier that surged through the darkness. My allies rallied behind, emboldened by a collective pulse of hope. A flame kindled unexpectedly amidst the suffocating somberness, but just as I reveled in that unifying moment, the figure of my past reared back, their expression twisting into a tempest of rage. Your foolish faith will lead to your undoing, Milan. You will pay for this. They lunged forward with terrifying speed, darkness swirling with malicious intent, aiming for the heart of our unity. In that crucial instant, I felt the world tilt, the collective strength we had mustered wavering as uncertainty crawled back into the recesses of my mind. The shadows clawed at my burgeoning hope, intent on devouring it. I was left facing the reality that victory teetered on the edge, desperately grasping at the fragile threads of belief that my stranger had so relentlessly inspired within me. And as the darkness threatened to engulf us, I realized I had never been so close to the precipice of hope, and yet I stood on the brink of a battle that could decide everything, with the possibility of losing not just myself, but everyone I'd begun to care for. The horrifying question lingered: when it came down to it, would I have the courage to defend not just my truth but their lives as well? The weight of the silence that followed the figure's threat was palpable, a hushed anticipation that left my heart drumming violently in my chest. The walls of the labyrinth around us seemed to close in, distorting the air with a heavy mist that stung my lungs. Time stretched thin as I searched for solace in my own thoughts, wrestling against the chaos swirling inside me. But amidst that tempest, the grip of my stranger remained unwavering, a lifeline connecting me to a flicker of hope. Their eyes bore into mine, filled with an understanding that transcended words. It was a reminder that, even in the darkest moments, we could forge connections fierce enough to combat the shadows. Milan, they whispered, their voice soft yet firm. You've already taken the first step. Remember that moment we stood toe-to-toe against the world? Let's do that again, this time for them. With renewed determination, I turned my gaze back to the figure. You don't know me, I said, my voice louder than I expected, shaking with adrenaline. You don't define me anymore. The figure paused, irritation flickering in their eyes. And yet here you are, still trapped within this realm of despair, battling shadows of your own making. You will always circle back to the despair I birthed in you. No, I shouted, omnipresent fear woven into my words. But the strength of my conviction shielded my vulnerability. You may have sown those seeds, but I control what I let grow. And now, my friends, they deserve to feel the light. Behind me, I could sense the warmth growing, both from the presence of my allies and the surge of energy emanating from the stranger at my side. As if we were a chain stretching across the void, each link forged with trust and hope, igniting the atmosphere with an incandescent glow. Then, without warning, the figure lunged in a frenzied fury. I braced myself, feeling the impending collision of darkness and the strength we had gathered. The shadows sought to claw through my resolve, but a resolute strength held firm within me. In a burst of adrenaline, I raised my hand, my fingers splayed wide, pulling from the warmth of the stranger, coaxing the flickering light into a shield. It pushed against the darkness, creating a tangible barrier that made the air electric with defiance. But even as I felt the surge build, the figure's laughter filled the space, cold and disdainful. You think this flicker can protect you? You are still tethered to your fears, bound in chains of doubt. Look, with a piercing sweep, they conjured images around you, moments of doubt replayed with grotesque clarity. I was back in the sterile office, drowning under the weight of reprimands. I was at the family dinner, surrounded by insincerity, taunted by the perception of failure. I was standing alone, waiting for the call that never came, each image clawing at my heart like a reminder of what I had once been. No. I gasped, trying to erase the memories, closing my eyes against the agony. But they burned still, vivid and wretched, the quality of despair rising within me like bile. Milan, focus. My stranger urged, anchoring me back from the abyss. Their voice sliced through the haze, grounding me. These are just memories, they have no power over your today. Hope flickered within my chest, igniting my resolve anew. I opened my eyes, casting my gaze out into the swirling shadows, feeling each breath rejuvenated by the fierce urgency to protect not just my present but the futures of those around me. I choose my path, I declared, reaching deep into the light that hummed across the hidden corners of my heart. I choose to believe in the friends who stood by me when I felt like falling apart. I choose to trust in the strength we share. The specters around me hesitated, and in that brief stillness, I felt a seed of unity sprout me, allies behind me, standing as one. Each face surged with determination, their silhouettes flickering with a vibrance that pushed back against the growing shadows. The figure sneered, but a flicker of uncertainty danced beneath their veneer of contempt. Is this your final stance, Milan? A pack of scared souls flailing against the tide. For too long I've allowed your fear to run my life, I replied, my voice steady, unwavering. But not anymore. Together we are more than the sum of our parts. We are light chasing away the shadows. As I spoke those words, I could feel the pulse of my friends amplifying the barrier, melding our strengths and hopes into something alive and bright. And suddenly, the cacophony of shadows exploded in a flurry of chaotic fury, the darkness swirling violently around us, desperately clawing for control. Then, as if the labyrinth itself sensed our united front, the ground shivered beneath us and, with a sudden implosion, the darkness shattered into fragments that shone like stars before dissipating into nothingness. The figure reeled, taken aback by the sheer power of what we had conjured together, but before I could exhale a breath of relief, a sharp cry echoed through the labyrinth. An unmistakable voice, one of my allies, calling my name, rife with terror. Milan! Look out! I turned just in time to see a tendril of darkness lunge back, wrapping around my stranger's neck. The flames of hope flickered, battling against the whirling shadows, but the figure re-emerged, grinning with a new twisted delight as they dragged my ally into the darkness. Panic surged through me, an icy current threatening to sever the tether of courage I had finally found. In that split second, I faced the chilling realization, if I faltered now, it could mean not just my friend's end, but a return to the very despair that had haunted my every waking moment. Would I allow their sacrifice to be in vain? Resolute, I knew what I had to do, even as despair threatened to rise within. I already felt their warmth behind me, urging me to transcend. I stepped forward, my heart a fierce drumbeat against the encroaching shadows, prepared to wrest my ally from the clutches of darkness. But in that desperate moment, as I reached out, the haunting figure turned toward me with a malicious glimmer in their eyes, whispering a revelation that shook me to my core. What if I told you, dear Milan, that the one you seek to save is the reason for your darkness? And just like that, the raw tendril of my own past snaked back around my heart, squeezing tighter than ever, forcing me to confront the true depth of the shadows I still held within. The cavernous space echoed with the figure's words, a chill coursing through my body as if the shadows themselves celebrated the revelation. What if I told you, dear Milan, that the one you seek to save is the reason for your darkness? The cruel smirk that danced on their lips struck me like a dagger, and I faltered for just a heartbeat, the world around me collapsing into a whirlpool of doubt. No, I whispered, but the sound barely left my lips, drowning in the cacophony of the labyrinth's sighs. A kaleidoscope of memories flashed through my mind, uninvited but insistent, each recollection of my past painted with colors of shame and regret. Desperation clawed at my throat, and I felt my resolve unravel, the threads of trust one wove with my ally fraying under the weight of that insidious knowledge. The shadows were thickening, swirling faster now, feeding off my confusion. My stranger's grip around my wrist tightened, but even their warmth felt distant, muffled, as I struggled to make sense of the figure's accusation. Was it a trick? A desperation to sever the bond between us? Or was there, buried beneath the surface, a haunting truth I had yet to face? Don't listen, my stranger interjected, voice fierce yet healing as they struggled against the grasp of darkness tightening around their neck. They feed on your fears, Milan. Focus on what we're fighting for. I shook my head, the pain cutting deeper, whispering treachery to my mind. But the memory spilled forth uncontrollably, a moment of a sour joke at a party, laughter cascading like water while I stood alone, my heart heavy with the betrayal of an unkind friend. A late-night argument that escalated, causing a rift that melted bridges I thought would withstand anything. The feeling of abandonment when support had flickered like a candle burning in the wind, and I had been left to stumble through the dark, grasping for something to cling to stop. I cried, clenching my fists as if might ward off the truth. I won't let you do this. Yet, the shadows pressed closer, and I staggered, overwhelmed by my own visions, the weight of my own memories holding me captive. Fear's tendrils wrapped tightly around my heart, threatening to crush the fire of hope that still flickered within me. You think you can hide from the truth? The figure's voice taunted, its echoed laughter filling the space with an ominous threat. You are tied to your failures as much as you are to their light. Why fight for someone who holds the darkness within them? No. I shouted, trying to drown out the revelation. My past does not define me. My darkness does not define me. I took a breath, feeling the warmth of my ally struggling behind the veil of shadows. No, I wouldn't lose them. Not now, not ever. With grit, I forced my gaze back to the figure. I won't be defined by my pain. I will lift them from this, just like I am lifting myself above my own demons. My heart raced, fueled by the light growing in my chest, gathered from the memories of the friends who had fought alongside me. The air cracked like thunder, and I hurled myself into the light. It surged around me, enveloping us in a glowing shroud, lifting my spirits from the clutches of despair. I felt my stranger's energy pulsating beside me, an anchor of hope, binding our resolve, igniting the embers of courage that flickered within the labyrinth, pushing back against the darkness. Milan. My ally's voice broke through, heavy with emotion. We need you. Bring us back together. In that heartbeat, I understood. The bond we shared was not merely a product of hope, it was the very essence of resilience. Each moment we fought alongside one another had built a fortress, a light that no shadows could quench, no doubt could sever. I reached deeper within, pulling the light around me as my courage solidified into something tangible. Threads of shared battles, laughter, and victory stitched together, wrapping each flickering spirit into one cohesive force. You are the fire, I proclaimed, hands outstretched, gathering the warmth of every soul behind me. We are the burning phoenixes, rising from our own ashes. You, my friend, are worth fighting for. A glorious blaze erupted as our collective resolve pierced the darkness, radiating a heat that burned away the smothering veil. The tendrils of shadow recoiled, pulling back in haste, and for a moment, hope illuminated every corner of the labyrinth. But even as my heart soared with the swell of hope, I remembered my stranger, a stark reminder that danger still lurked in the dark corners of doubt. The figure reared back, their expression shifting from arrogance to rage, the shadows around them snarling like wild beasts ready to pounce. And then it happened, a crack in the fabric of the realm around us, a burst of energy rippling through the air. We must go now, my stranger shouted, eyes wide with urgency. But just as I turned to extend a hand, the figure shrieked with furious laughter, latching onto my stranger's form. Did you think I would let you escape so easily? The truth you fear lies beyond reach, and it will always find you. As their laughter echoed, the labyrinth trembled around us, darkness spilling like ink as walls began to collapse. Milan, my stranger cried out, their voice laced with desperation. An image flickered in my head, a memory of an old photograph, an innocent moment etched in time, shattered by shadows lurking forgotten within the deep truth of where it all began. And then, as the shadows roared with primal force and chaos consumed the space, I teetered on the precipice of decision, my heart pounding a rhythm of urgency. The choice lay heavy within me. Do I risk everything to follow the flames of light, or do I confront this ugly truth and face the pain that threatened to engulf us all? Could I truly save my ally? Or would the darkness claim another victim by dragging me down into the depths of despair? The labyrinth unraveled into a kaleidoscope of chaos as the echoes of laughter echoed through the shadows, wrapping around my heart like a vice. I could hear the desperation in my ally's voice, their struggle against the dark force. Milan! In that frantic moment, everything shifted, and I knew I could either run or turn back toward the very shadows I'd tried so desperately to escape. My heart raced. I forced myself to focus, nurturing the flicker of light that had refused to be extinguished in the face of despair. I summoned every memory of warmth and solidarity, of laughter shared and battles fought side by side. In that crucible of pain and anxiety, I found strength, the undeniable truth that I had my allies behind me, urging me onward. I am not afraid, I shouted, the words reverberating through the darkness, a declaration cascading against the doubts clawing at me. The shadows faltered for a heartbeat beneath the heat of my conviction, but the figure from my past snarled, filled with an animosity birthed from years of control. You will always circle back to despair, Milan. You are nothing without the shadows. They roared, a fierce wind stirring in their wake, bringing with it the cacophony of all the fears I had ever faced. Each taunt twisted the air around me, threatening to lure me back into the labyrinth of my own insecurities, but alongside me stood the one who had captured my trust from the moment they'd pulled me back from the brink of despair. They had been my anchor, a reminder that strength could be found in unity. I looked into their eyes, seeing the fear, the hope, and the unwavering belief that we could overcome. Believe in us, I cried, reaching deep within to pull forth the solidarity that had bound us since the moment we escaped the flames together. The energy ignited, bursting forth like wildfire, and I surged toward the darkness, ready to reclaim every fragment of light I could feel rising within me. Together came a chorus from behind, the voices of allies intertwining with my own, a firm foundation that refused to be shaken. Their warmth enveloped me, a shield against the encroaching shadows. We'll fight this together. With that resolve, I lunged forward, reaching out for my stranger. I could feel the tendrils of darkness wrestling against everything we fought for, but it was my belief in them that surged within me like a battle cry, break free. The fire within demanded to be unleashed. It enveloped us, spiraling out from my core and pushing back against the darkness, culminating in a burst of brilliant light that illuminated the shadows like dawn breaking through night. But just as victory began to feel tangible, my past loomed closer, its form stretching and distorting, forcing me to face the truth I had long sought to ignore. You don't understand who you are, it taunted. You're just weak masquerading in bravery. You'll return to me, like all the others. No. I screamed, fury and anguish coursing through me. I won't accept that. I can change. I am not bound to my past, nor to the fears that have haunted me. I have chosen to forge my own path. And as that truth resonated loudly through my voice, I felt the ground beneath me tremble. Everything shifted. I could see the walls of shadows collapsing around me, melting away beneath the illumination of our shared strength. With that recognition came a clarity, a defining moment that illuminated who I was, not just defined by scars but forged in resilience. In a rush, I felt my stranger by my side, our hands clasped in solidarity, their warmth igniting my spirit. I could see it glimmering in their gaze, the promise that we were in this together. With one last surge of energy, we stepped into the light. The shadows erupted in a hailstorm of panic, but we forged ahead, unrelenting. Light broke its hold as the figures from my past faded beneath the brilliance of forgiveness and acceptance. Together was echoed, a chant from the depths of our hearts, binding each moment together into something larger than the shadows that had confined us. And then came the final confrontation, a surge as I faced the figure from my past one last time. You don't belong in my life anymore, I proclaimed, fierce and unwavering. The chains that had once bound me to their will shattered, replaced by a surge of clarity from within. I'm not running. I'm reclaiming my future, our future. The darkness rippled and swayed, fragmented under the weight of our determination. Memory by memory, doubt by doubt, it crumbled around us, dissipating into the ether of what once was. Finally, in an explosion of light that felt almost heavenly, the last vestiges of shadows fell away, revealing a brand new horizon, one filled with stars more brilliant than any darkness I had faced. I turned, looking at my stranger, my ally, the person who had unwaveringly stood by me in both fear and courage. Hope coursed through me, and I stepped forward into my newfound life, one rooted in truth, unity, and love. As the horizon beckoned, new and bright, I felt an overwhelming sense of relief wash over me, a weight lifted from my heart. Each breath was now filled with promise and the echoes of laughter, past reminders of every battle fought that had led to this moment of beautiful imperfection. Thank you, I whispered, gazing at my companion, the gratitude pouring from my voice as we stood on the threshold of our futures, carving new roads together. And as we took that first step into the brightness of tomorrow, I realized something that made my heart soar. It was in letting go of the past and embracing this journey forward that I had finally found myself. Together, light and shadows intertwined, we would forge a path unseen, a love forged from resilience, blooming at the edges of hope like a sunrise painting the world anew. In the distance, I saw shadows hovering, but knew now that the strength we had cultivated would forever illuminate our steps forward. Freedom is just the beginning, I whispered softly, the truth echoing in my heart. And never have I felt more alive.